Hi, this is Caris from the LKY School of Public Policy, and today we are very happy to have Mr. Jonathan McClory, the author of the Soft Power 30 Index, with us today. And let us find out more interesting facts about the soft power. Hi, Jonathan.
Hello.
So, in today's world, we often heard of the terms soft power and versus hard power. And now that you're here with us, we wanted to learn more interesting facts about soft power. So, probably you could shed some light on what exactly soft power is.
Yeah.
Or what's the difference between hard power and soft power?
Yeah, that's a good starting place to talk about what soft power is if we actually think about hard power. So, both hard power and soft power are about getting one country to change the behavior of another country. And hard power relies on coercion. So it's force or the threat of force or paying somebody to do something or using economic sanctions. That's really hard power. And in contrast to that, soft power is about using attraction and persuasion to change behavior of others. And sometimes it's actually about changing or shaping their preferences, which ultimately brings about change in behavior. And I suppose the sources of soft power as well. It's worth talking about. Originally developed by Joseph Nye, he points to three main sources, and they are culture, political values, and foreign policy.
And being the author of the Soft Power Index report, we wanted to know more about what are the contributing factors to a country's soft power.
Well, it starts with those three sources that Joseph Nye identified, like I said, the political values, culture, and foreign policy. But we actually looked across a range of academic literature and identified a few more factors as well that exist outside of those pillars. So one key component is, as we're here today at a higher education institution, education and the role that universities play in attracting foreign students or contributing to global scholarship. Another factor is enterprise, or a country's business and economic model, and its capacity for innovation is important for soft power. And the final part that we add to sources of soft power is digital. So individuals being able to connect with each other through online social media platforms, and just being able to engage in conversations globally is really important.
I see. So how will the Soft Power Index influence the world today?
Well, I don't expect the Soft Power Index itself to really change anything in the world. I mean, I think there are two useful things about the index. And one, in a big way, it was kind of to, I suppose, convince governments that it's important to think about soft power, and it's important to look after the resources that you have that make you attractive.
It's not just the hard power, but we have to combine both hard and soft.
Yeah, and we have to think about those things and think about what those sources are and how to use them. And then the second part of the index itself is that it can be used as a tool, as a framework for countries to think about the assets that they have and where they're more likely to be effective.
We've actually read some of your reports. So in Singapore, it's actually quite highly ranked. It's just a small country. So we're just curious to know what are the factors that contributed to its ranking. Is it the food, the government, or the racial harmony that we have here? Yeah,
so I think Singapore does some things really well. So the economic and business model that Singapore has is crucial to its soft power. And on our enterprise sub-index, I think Singapore comes second in that. So very, very strong on all things economic and enterprise. It does very well on digital as well. It's a very tech-savvy country, very well connected. But I think one of the interesting things is that actually anyone who's been to Singapore will understand, the role that food plays and how good it is. Yeah. But it's not necessarily something that cuts through to global audiences yet. And actually culture as well is an asset, I think, that Singapore has that isn't cutting through as much as it should be. It's not getting as much recognition as it should internationally. But also, I mean, the effectiveness of the government is a big role as well. There's very high levels of trust in government, and the World Bank good governance indicator is one of the metrics we use for government, and Singapore does very well on that.
Yeah, well, I guess probably we could improve more on our entertainment is just like Korean and K-pop. It's all over the world.
Yeah, and you think about South Korea is a really good example of a country that has said, and a government in particular that said,
Yes.
we are going to build up our culture and we are going to project it and we're going to promote it and really get it out there. And they've done a great job of it.
Or maybe we could sell our chili crab and chicken rice. Okay, so we also wanted to know like what are the things that a small country in Asia could do to increase its global footprints.
I think the obvious, though maybe not necessarily easy answer is just expanding the diplomatic footprint of Singapore would be helpful. I know it's difficult because it's not a huge country, so Singapore is never going to have as many diplomatic missions as say China, but maybe a bit more almost global activism, or getting a bit more involved in key issues. I mean, I think Singapore has done an excellent job looking after itself and looking after its development in the last 50 years, and that's been very important in a slightly, let's say, difficult neighborhood. Without any natural resources, that was the focus. And now maybe it's time to get more involved in bigger global issues and try and bring some of the expertise and experience that Singapore has to help other parts of the world.
And as a media professional, I personally would like to know more about which is more effective in projecting soft power. Is it the new media or is it just using traditional media?
I think it's really hard to come down to a kind of binary decision that one's better than the other. So I think traditional media is still really important. You think about the role that traditional media plays for the soft power of a country like the UK. And how important the BBC World Service is. And even though they're not publicly funded, or thinking about media brands like The Economist or The Financial Times and the influence they have, that's hugely important. But at the same time, social media is really important, and the use of it is really important. And there aren't too many governments that do social media or new media very well. But that's something that now needs to be, it's the new normal for ambassadors or ministries of foreign affairs or world leaders, that they need to be engaging online. So I wouldn't say that you can sort of take one over the other. I think you have to balance both. But in the absence of having big traditional media brands, then the new media done well is a way to kind of catch up, I suppose.
Yeah, I guess that's why we see all the ministers or the governing officials just tweeting and Facebooking online. And lastly, so as just a normal and ordinary citizen, is there a role that we can play to help contribute to a country's soft power?
I think it's for the individual. It's more about civil society as a whole. How does an individual contribute to wider civil society? And soft power isn't just about governments. In fact, the sources of soft power are largely out of control of the government. And so individuals have important roles to play, whether they're in business or in civil society, or in cultural institutions or education institutions. So it's those kind of and I think building person-to-person contacts across borders is quite helpful. But it's more about sort of the collective effect of individuals coming together and building links. Yeah, I think that's right.
Thank you, Jonathan, for the very insightful discussion, and we look forward to having you back at our school to share with us more knowledge and for you to give more powers.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you for your time, and we hope to see you again.
Thank you.